Janet. Being online, great. Michael, Lou, and Sheldon will be our city representatives remaining on the DRC joining us.
Sorry, one more thing. Jeanette's not a new member. She's been on the committee for a lot longer than I have.
She was previously on the DRC.
Oh, is that, so this is, oh, I see.
As we're combining the design review committee with the community
Gotcha.
working group. She's
Okay.
new to the community working group, but has
Gotcha.
been engaged, you're correct, for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm busy. Stay down there.
Alrighty, so yes, as Erica just mentioned, we do have a new CWG structure, which includes some new members. They are folks from the design review committee, which has now been combined with the CWG. So community members who were previously on the DRC are now considered CWG members, and that includes Jeanette. City staff who were previously on the DRC will remain as DRC members, but be included in CWG meetings. The really important aspect of having city staff included is to make sure that our project progresses and aligns with the city's future vision and goals. So having their presence remain is really important to us as well. We also have student.
Anything for you?
You mute that line.
No. No.
Hey, Jack, we can hear you. Would you mind muting yourself?
Sorry.
And then, yes, so as Sean mentioned earlier, we do have student representation that we've been engaging with. We have Arne, who has temporarily joined. He is not able to make this meeting today because he's got midterms. But I believe we may look into a replacement, as he suggested that he may not be able to commit to the whole thing, but I think we'll coordinate with you, Sean, at a later time about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So just because we have new members now, the roles and responsibilities, I just want to go over and reiterate to our CWG structure. We really expect, as CWG members, to be project liaisons to your communities, be able to disseminate updates and information about the project, and be able to also collect feedback and share that with us as well, whatever you might hear from your communities, students, faculty. We also want to have our CWG members remain in a 4-term locked into the project. 4 years for one term at least. And the reason why we chose 4 years is we really want to make sure that you are able to gain and carry historical context project and engage adequately and holistically in conversations about it as well. And so after the 4 years, we will review your engagement, your participation, and your interest in remaining on the project, which is why it's really important to communicate with us if you are unable to make it to regular meetings. Because if our overall attendance is that you are absent at meetings and you've not been able to inform us, at the end of those 4 years, we'll probably want to see if you are still interested in remaining on the project. And if you are not able to, or no longer want to be a part of that process, then we'll probably ask for you to provide us with a replacement who may have capacity to do so. So it's really important, if you can't make it to regular meetings, to just let us know. And in addition to that, we'd love for you to be able to meet with us after meetings outside for follow-up conversations and phone calls. We provide a lot of updates and information in these meetings, so we want to be able to have a more thorough and comprehensive conversation if you guys have questions or concerns that we are unable to cover in the meetings. The meeting structures themselves include four regular quarterly meetings that happen every 3 months in the year. Those are really important, and those are part of the ones where you need to communicate your absence to us. They are important meetings where we provide major updates on the project. So that's really, really important that you're able to attend. Interim CWG meetings will be hosted as needed, ad hoc. So if you're unable to make those because they are conflicting and because they're so spontaneous, then that's okay. We completely understand. But also would love communication on that too if you are unable to make it. And with the new members on the team, we do want to begin to host one-on-one or small group meetings as needed or desired, so that we can build a relationship and learn about you all on an individual level, so that this relationship can carry long-term beyond the project for us to communicate and be engaged with communities that we all serve. Any questions, comments before we move forward? Folks online, just a reminder, if you have questions, definitely raise your hand. If you are unable to speak or would not like to speak, you can enter it into the chat and we'll read out your comments in person. Thank you. Alrighty, so some of the things we've been doing to advance the CWG participation and engagement is we've been talking to students at San Jose State as well as Santa Clara University, as we mentioned earlier. We are also leveraging stakeholder toolkits, which my colleague Tiffany has been sending out. These are meant to promote and spread awareness of the meetings. We also have stakeholder toolkits that we send out after the meetings to recap as notes as well for the members. But we really use these to really promote attendance in the meetings as well. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we will want to start hosting meet and greets with CWG members, which ideally would encourage you to continue on in the project as well and encourage your participation continuing forward and to get to know us and for us to get to know you as well. If there are any additional recommendations, we'd love to hear on how we can engage more folks and increase participation in these meetings. I'm going to start with some folks in the room if you have any ideas you'd like to bring up.
I like the location. It's close and convenient, so that really helps.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's glad there is some change going on right now. I mean, there was a stretch there where it was financial updates only, and that got a little bit blurry-eyed. So I'm glad there's actual dirt being digged and moved.
All right, I want to hear some folks online if you have any recommendations to share of how we can increase participation in these meetings as well.
I wanted to, this is Anna Vargas Smith. I wanted to thank everyone for getting back on track. I know the holidays were a busy time for everyone and that these meetings are starting up again because I think the timing's perfect. It's a good time to start re-engaging. Everyone on the city's interested. The community is sort of waking up to it again. So timing is great.
Thanks, Anna. I also did follow up with your recommendation to engage with some specific neighborhood or business associations.
Oh,
So
good.
Yeah. So I was able to send invites to them as well. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
This is Rob. I just wanted to say, there's a Santa Clara Station Area Task Force that's going on right now. So I don't know how we engage with that, but that's a big thing going on that obviously is surrounding the station. So I don't know how you manage that, but something to take care of.
Yeah, there's at least 3 of us that are on that task force.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Rob, myself, and Jonathan,
Mhm.
and we will give updates at that meeting.
Oh, okay.
But it's kind of like at the end when it's open mic kind of thing, and we'll say, we had
Okay.
a meeting and this is where the project's going and all that. But whether there's more formal opportunities, I think is what Rob, I think we're looking for guidance on or engagement.
Okay.
Hey, Brent, can you speak to our engagement in that effort?
Yeah, hi everyone. We, meaning VTA, has attended, I think, as just kind of as an audience member, 2 of the task force meetings and one of the earlier charrettes that you all had. So we are trying to stay in the loop, and it will be a joint effort between our BART Silicon Valley team here and VTA planning as well. But open to other ideas of working together.
But we're also coordinating with the city on the back end regarding the plan as well. Wanted to make sure you all knew we were moving into that.
And Rob, I think it was Rob, but the meeting's not actually happening right now at this time, right? I didn't interpret that. We don't have a meeting conflict, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just, I think it's more just information. Like it's
Understood.
like Sean said, it's kind of difficult. Like if we give an update, but we don't really, do we have the slide deck? Like that would probably be helpful, at least some written stuff or, data and images or whatever. I know some of this, it's not secret, but it's not for the public right now. So there's the managing of that aspect if certain things aren't ready for public viewing, but a little more lifting gives us less heavy lifting. It's not super heavy, but like Sean said, it's at the end of the meeting, everybody's ready to go. And then, it kind of peters out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe some other tools to share, or I don't know if the task force does have guests, but we could do, a brief presentation, just kind of a catch up on the project if the rest of the task force would
Absolutely.
helpful.
Yeah, that might be yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I have my email on screen. And then I've also been emailing you all with CWG materials. So if you would like to reach out to us whenever there's room on the agenda, just feel free to let us know.
Yeah, the city sets the agenda.
Mhm.
So I think if you need us to ask them to slot something, we can, or if you want to reach out directly to them, either way, just let us know.
Yeah, I think we'll try our avenue first.
Yeah.
Because we,
Okay.
and let you know, but thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And if there are any other additional recommendations you might have beyond this later on after this meeting, my email is also on screen for you to send those recommendations to me as well. All right. No further comments from anyone else? So I do want to briefly touch on the CWG meet and greets that I'm hoping to have with you all, alongside with Brent, Brandy, and each of the station leads as well. On screen is a screen cap of a bookings link that I will likely send out. We want to likely use this as a way to capture your availability. So you can select a date and a couple of time slots that you think might be available for you, and then I can look at that and coordinate all of our calendars together so we can make the time happen. You can put your name, email, and if your phone number, if you prefer to be reached out that way as well. So be on the lookout for that email next week to set up some time with you. Any questions before I move forward? Great. All right, so I do want to do a quick member report out. There are some new questions on screen. I'm curious to learn about whether or not you have been able to update your communities with the BSV project information and updates. And if you have not been able to, are there any ways that we can support with doing that, such as through the stakeholder toolkits we've been creating as well? And if you have been able to, what have you heard from them? Is there any feedback that we should know of that we've not heard of before? I'll start with some folks in person. Sean?
Yeah, it's been pretty weak in terms of reporting out. I think that a meeting, maybe SCU has been generous in the past to let us have one of their rooms in their facility on Campbell Avenue. We could
Sure.
get some people to mosey on down the street. We're down Campbell Avenue, and have people just walk on over and
Okay.
have them, see things like this. I think that would help spark their interest. But it's certainly is just anecdotally, it's nice finding that the opening to the tracks is unfortunately going more towards Santa Clara University dorms, but certainly was a concern by members. And there's now that we've found out that it's not going to be impacting our neighborhood as much as it was, it's certainly there's a lot of people that are relieved with that. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Thanks, Sean. Sean?
Yeah, when we get before the meeting, you send out a packet.
Mm-hmm.
So I post that on an internal distribution list for the campus.
Great.
And then this is the second meeting I think I've done that for.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a call this week. Angela was there to strategize with some stakeholders on the campus about more engagement, both at the student and the faculty level.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of interest, both for careers, for internships, for research, for just getting people out to see the project,
Mm-hmm.
tabling on campus, things like that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, would that be something, or maybe it's already happened, some kind of the order of magnitude? About 4 years ago, we took a bus all the way to Concord to see, that was the quote unquote same facility or very similar facility in terms of responsibilities to what we're going to get here. Now, obviously, there's going to be a presentation and there may be some changes coming up here, but is there any way to get maybe it would maybe tweak people's interest if they could physically go on the grounds, between the proposed railroad tracks and the cyclone fence over there? In other words, would there be anything to see? I mean, if there's nothing really to see, then maybe it's not worth it, but that could get people involved and if they actually get to, wow, we get to go on the site, something like that. I don't know.
I think there are safety precautions to consider, but I will defer to our leadership team, Erica and Brent, if that's something we can consider in the future.
And then may get people excited. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's something that we can, right now, there's more things to see. As you'll see, we've got a drone flyover video. We're going to show you what it looks like today, but that's definitely something that
Maybe that would be sufficient. Just the video I could forward to people. Maybe that's all that's needed.
Thank you. All right, folks online, did you have any thoughts? Brett, just going to respond to what John has said.
I want to thank you for the toolkits. I think those are super helpful and very concise. I also want to commend you on those great social media posts. I do follow them and I do share them, comment, and like them to my particular networks. The feedback has been, it's very engaging. It's colorful. There's a lot of photos. People really, it strikes up their curiosity, makes them want to know more. So it's working. I just wanted to share that kind of feedback with you.
The only thing was on the last toolkit, it was like a PDF, I think. It was hard to get a link out of it. I finally figured it out how, but so that I could also post a live link because it was embedded. It was like part of the image. So anyways, it might,
Good feedback.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Coming soon.
Yes.
We've already gotten that feedback.
Maybe I'm just too old to know how to do that.
We'll make our directions clear.
Thank you. Any other folks online that would like to share?
Yeah, I've been sending out the information and newsletters about the upcoming meetings. It would be maybe helpful to have, instead of a larger flyer, maybe like a couple different sizes of meeting invites to share to people. Sometimes it's hard to embed a larger document into like something like an email newsletter.
Okay.
And then we also have a in-person kind of group meeting coming up. And if there's any like handouts or anything, I could potentially hand out to members there. I'm not sure if there's a way we can coordinate and go, pick up, flyer material or anything like that. Or if you have any information you'd like us to present kind of in a wider forum, are there some tools there? Like, I can't really use PowerPoint because we're not in a place where, PowerPoints are, but if you have any like flyer handouts and stuff I could distribute, that would be great to know if there's a way we could do that.
Yeah, is it helpful if we send you documents to print out? Or do you prefer them printed already?
If you could send some stuff to print, I could probably print a few things. I guess kind of depends on what docs you have, or if you have some flyers already, I could always
Okay.
or pick them up somewhere.
Okay.
Jonathan, when is your event?
It's in 2 weeks. It's the 26th of February.
Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah.
It's Rob. I was just going to say, I have not done anything, to be honest, but I do need to coordinate with Dan Ondrasek, who's the head of Reclaim Our Downtown, to make sure that I get the information to them. So I'll be a little more present relating to that.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, any additional comments?
There's a lot of sharing coming from this group, so this is great to hear, actually. Thank you all.
Alden, I see you're unmuted. Just wanted to see if you had any thoughts.
Yeah, just real quick, speaking for my organization, we have not been super focused on disseminating some of the info packets that you guys have put out there, largely because we've been in the lease up process for our first residential building over the past few months. And until recently, we didn't have a ton of people to distribute it to, but that has changed. So going forward, we'll definitely be more focused on, passing that stuff along.
Great, thank you. All right. Oh, I see a hand raised. Brett?
So I kind of have a related question for two of our community members. How's this park going? I hear this park, I ride by it every day. Just wondering what the timeline is. How much
Yeah,
progress?
that's a great
It looks
question.
so awesome.
park is scheduled to complete in March. And there is some sort of administrative work that goes on with the city to hand it over to them, because it will be a public park owned by Santa Clara. But the goal is to get it open as soon as possible, kind of in the March timeframe.
There's an event or anything and you want us to have a little table or something with information, just let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. There will be a ribbon cutting ceremony at some point. It has not been scheduled yet, but we will keep you posted on that.
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Now, is this ribbon cutting or open to any and everybody? In other words, that's something maybe members of my neighborhood would be willing to walk over. I assume it's right there by Costco.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be a public event, and I don't know
Especially-
exactly what the city's process is, but I imagine, you know, they will post it on their official city calendar, and we're happy to, you know, kind of broadcast it to surrounding neighborhood groups.
That'd be great. So we're talking 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, whatever, what's the time frame on this thing?
You know, I really don't know for sure. It depends in part on the city's schedules and when they can get council and mayor and everyone out there. But if I had to guess, I'd say April.
Okay. And then am I hearing BART phase 2 is kind of committing maybe to being there? That would be another thing. If we got members in my neighborhood, we could walk over not only to see the new park, but then engage in something.
Yeah, if it works out that's able to happen, we can be sure to follow up.
All right, there'll be updates.
Yeah,
There'll be
we'll let you know,
updates.
just to
Okay.
make sure.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you all. I'm not seeing any additional comments. We're gonna move on to the next segment. All right, I'm gonna let our city partner, Nicholas Frey, take over and introduce you and give you an overview on the Santa Clara Street Vision Study.
Hi, everybody. My name's Nick, City of San Jose. Thank you. It's always nice to come across the border here to Santa Clara. And thank you, everybody, for coming today. So what I'd like to talk to folks about today is a study and a project that we are working on in the City of San Jose, as Nan mentioned, reimagining Santa Clara Street. So for folks in this room and online are probably very familiar with this, right? It's really the sort of main drag for the City of San Jose and forms the east-west spine of our downtown. So this project came out of the San Jose Downtown Transportation Plan, and this was an effort by DOT along with our sister departments in the community to really think about how do people get around downtown today, how are we going to accommodate growth into the future, and how can we really make our city more resilient in the face of climate change especially. So with this project, we basically had recommendations on most of our streets, but we found, again, especially with talking with the community, that there were really these 4 really big projects that are pretty important to improving downtown, but we're going to need a little bit more study. And we call these our big moves. So currently, the city is taking the lead on Santa Clara Street, thinking about, again, how it functions today, where there are places where it's doing really well, where there's places we can improve, and then also how can we make it ready for the future and the influx of folks that are coming to downtown West and throughout the area, especially considering our new BART station in downtown. And our partners at VTA are looking at light rail in downtown and thinking about how can we make that system more attractive to people, maybe increase speed and so forth. So our central question for this is really to say, what would it take for people to feel a sense of pride in Santa Clara Street? Right now, it is a very heavy auto street. There's a lot of traffic. I actually work in downtown City Hall, which is where this photo is taken from. And it's not the most pleasant place to be on, right? Not a lot of people are going to say, hey, let's go hang out on Santa Clara Street, right? It's a lot of noise, a lot of traffic, a lot of congestion. And frankly, there's just not a lot of space for people outside of cars at this point. So as folks, we're all probably pretty familiar with Google Maps these days. So this is an aerial photo of downtown San Jose. And this right here is the corridor that our project for reimagining Santa Clara Street is looking at. And just to highlight for folks on the right side of the image, I apologize for folks online, I'm using my little laser pointer here, but on the right side of the image is 17th Street and Coyote Creek. And on the left side of the image, the corridor runs to Stockton Street and Diridon. So really this is going from sort of the transition from a very residential area on the right all the way to a very dense, very active area on the left with the train station, the Sharks Ice, and of course we have our downtown core in the center. So when looking at this corridor, and again in conjunction with our work on the downtown transportation plan, we wanted to say not just look at the specific street itself, but really think how does it interact with the larger downtown and integrate with the urban fabric in downtown. So this effort is looking at this stretch of Santa Clara Street, as well as thinking about, again, those blocks to the north-south. How do those interact with the street? Are there uses that are happening on the street today that could maybe make more sense to move onto those side streets, right? So thinking about, for instance, maybe parking. In some places, restaurants might want to do outdoor dining. And so can we move some of that parking and loading to the side streets, just as an example? So again, for context, we have Stockton to 17th. We have 7th Street here in the center, which leads us to San Jose State, as we can see, and City Hall. 2nd Street in the middle, which again is right around our light rail core, Almaden, Big Heavy Street, and again, the SAP and Diridon on the left. So in thinking about this, we realized that this needed to be more than just a transportation project, right? We needed to think about what is the street doing? And since the street is really our largest public space in the city of San Jose, the street network, how can we take this and really maximize the utility for people in San Jose, for businesses, for residents, for visitors of that public space, and thinking of it as something more than just a way to get through downtown San Jose, but a reason to come to downtown San Jose. So through an RFP process, we met with a large number of firms and had a lot of really good discussions, but we ended up deciding to go with SiteLab. They're located in San Francisco, so they're very familiar with the Bay Area context in San Jose as well. And the other part of it was, I think they really got our idea around a very multidisciplinary approach, right? So not just focusing on street signals or potential changes to pavement, but how do we activate this space and make it into a public square for San Jose? For folks on the call and here in the room, you may have seen this name before. SiteLab has done some great work on 28th Street station and some other work for downtown West as well. So again, they're very familiar with this corridor and we think a great fit for the city moving forward. So estimated schedule. Right now we're in the define and discover phase. So we're really looking at existing conditions and starting to move into our alternative generation process. We're committed to being very transparent and open with the community and really having deep community engagement and involvement with the development of this plan. So that's something that we're hoping to span through the entire project, both through coming to our partners here with BSV, but also doing our own separate engagement with stakeholders, again, residents, businesses on the corridor, and our institutions like SJSU, SAP Center, and so forth. Moving forward, our next phase is thinking about proposing and assess. So once we kind of know what the challenges are that are out there, how do we start to address those? How do we start to transform this again into a space that's more for the public? And then finally, once we've developed those concepts, those alternatives, really comparing them, talking through some of the potential trade-offs, and really having a very hopefully productive conversation both with our stakeholders council and departments to really think about how can we make the best project that we can. One thing I want to note also is we have this other section in there called sites and landmarks. And what I think is really interesting about this, and again, a little bit more of that interdisciplinary approach, something that the project is really focused on is thinking about how do we highlight, how do we leverage, and how do we better connect to some of our existing civic and public places and institutions along that street. So everything from in the top left corner, thinking about Diridon and the SAP Center, how do we make that a more vibrant public space? And again, improve that connectivity from our public transportation and public road system there, all the way down in the bottom right, if I can get my directions right there. One of the proposals for the new affordable housing at the former county hospital site. And then everything from Santana, from San Pedro Square to the connection to SJSU to the little parklet over by Almaden and 87 overcrossing. Again, thinking about these spaces that are probably we're very familiar with, but aren't necessarily very fond of, right? How do we leverage these and make them more again into a destination and help rebuild that urban fabric? So that's kind of the quick 10-minute run through, and thank you so much, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Nick. Let's start with folks in person. John?
I mean, you talk to numerous people why they never go downtown. It's their first reason is safety. The second one is safety, and the third one is safety. You know, you go to Santana Row, and people are spending money left and right, and they're feeling very safe. You walk across the street, and so, I mean, maybe less studies and maybe more money towards maybe officers. That's above my pay grade on how people would feel safer. But I mean, I don't know how many studies have been done doing this. Santa Clara. I've been on several Santa Clara station area, and the study goes on the shelf and just starts to get a lot of dust on it. I'm just wondering if maybe just if people feel safer downtown. I would suspect they're willing to bring their money downtown and spend it.
Yeah, great point. And it's definitely something that we reviewed with our partners within the retail and business partners in downtown, and then also again thinking about how do we better manage the space as well. So definitely something that we're incorporating into the planning process.
Yeah, safety is huge.
Sean?
I would agree with John. And then what's the interconnectedness between this and anything with the BART project with the 2 stations downtown?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So this corridor actually fronts 2 of our stations, as you just alluded to, in downtown and in Diridon. So we're working, hand in glove with BSV and VTA to make sure that any changes to the street are going to support those future plans and again, support that access to these major investments.
Great. I'm going to jump to folks online, and I see, Anna, you are unmuted.
I was curious, what's the timeline on this project? I mean, it's a huge challenge. I agree with everyone so far. It's about safety. It's, user friendly. There's so much that goes into it, but what's the timeline to start and complete this? Because this could be a great case study for other task force.
Absolutely, that's a really great question. So we're currently in about a 12-month schedule for this part of the planning process. We kicked off a couple months ago and are hoping to end up in late 2025, early 2026. And again, basically this study, one of the keys is to really synthesize a lot of the thinking that's already been done here and come up with what will be called a 10% plan. So essentially looking at changes to curbs, sidewalks, lane configurations, things like that. So this is really taking a lot of that great discussion, a lot of that great thought that's happened with the city and with the public and with meetings like this, and really trying to actionalize that and make that into a more concrete plan, forgive the pun, but to again get us to the point where we can start to go out and look for funding to actually rebuild the street.
It's
So-
wonderful. I look forward to seeing more about it.
Wonderful. And as looks like Tiffany mentioned, please feel free to reach out to myself or Eric Island, and we'll make sure that you are on our contact lists for future engagement. Thank you.
Terrific.
Thanks, Anna.
Yeah, may I ask a question? So, hey, Erica, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hey, thank you for the presentation. Just curious, how have you engaged thus far with either the development community or property owners that are actually along Santa Clara Street who will have the ability to actually do something about it?
That's a great question, and thank you for that. So again, we're in the existing conditions gathering phase right now. So part of our work there is to start to assemble our stakeholder lists. We've been working pretty extensively with SJDA, the Downtown Association, and some other developers in downtown that have property on the site. So we have our sort of key set of stakeholders that we're working to expand. Again, as I mentioned, SJSU and other folks, and then we'll widen that out to the larger public. Additionally, we have a component thinking about that interdisciplinary point there to really work with the business community and especially small retail that's currently on the street to imagine how we can make that street work better for them and support more vibrancy. So great point and well taken.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Jonathan, go ahead.
Yeah, I know some folks already mentioned safety, but I actually wanted to bring up cleanliness. That's often a challenge in some of those areas in downtown. Some of the spots, I'd say can be pretty, trying to find the right words for it, but maybe gross, something that you don't want to necessarily walk around. And I've seen that even on Santa Clara Street. And so I think Palo Alto has something like they call like their street team that goes out and does cleanups. And I think something like that to help keep the area tidier would be really helpful. And like, there's a couple times where like, I know some of those underpasses, I was trying to even myself report things that I think the city needed to go in and attend to. And I couldn't find a great way. I mean, going through the city's website and trying to like find your like its code or ordinance for reporting things that need attention. There really wasn't a good resource for that. I think I even tried calling a number and it was just like some phone tree or whatever. So I think having more resources to report, when maybe the street itself is not in a condition that makes people feel comfortable walking down it, there'd be a better way to, help people get engaged. So I think that's missing and needs to be part of this. It's not just about like changing the street as is, it's more about, I think, making a more inviting place and giving people tools.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. That's a really great point. I wanted to just first say, highly suggest avail yourself of 311. Anybody in the room or online, we really appreciate hearing from folks. We can't unfortunately be out on all the streets every day, so please use 311 to report, and we do try to get crews dispatched as quickly as possible.
Okay, so you might want to make that easier to find on the city's website, because I even tried like Googling and going through the city's website, and 311, for example, doesn't even come up as a thing you should dial. So
absolutely,
it's an 800 number for code enforcement or something I think I found, but that obviously wasn't the right.
Thank you. And just to build off of your other point there, we also have a groundworks team in
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. John beat me to it. In downtown, that's something that is a partnership with the city and the business association. And they're great folks. You'll see them in their orange polo shirts. And that's something that we're wanting to integrate into this design, talking honestly with them about what's going to make it easier to maintain, what it's going to make it easier to keep the streets cleaner and safer for folks. And that goes all the way from more kind of the programmatic stuff like that, even then down into the design questions about, in a lot of cases, one block might have, 4 different trash cans that are all served by 4 different agencies. Are there ways to streamline that, make it more efficient, make it easier for the resources that the public sector has to, again, maintain that? So great question, Jonathan. And sorry, John, did you want to add something?
Well, yeah, I just thought that there was already a system in place where I had the impression I walked downtown and there's guys with power washers. I mean, I'm going, yeah, this is fabulous. I mean, what can you do on and beyond that? I think, and what I believe is formerly unhoused human beings are asked, given money to do this and be on a team. It's a fabulous setup. And it's disappointing that they haven't done, I don't know who was speaking online, but I think they're doing a pretty good job. And obviously it sounds like they need to do a better job. But so it's a fabulous program.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, something that we're very proud of in San Jose. And again, I think it is representative of the partnerships that the city is really trying to forge to work with our business community and our residents to really try to get boots on the ground to improve conditions. Like
and the people who they employ. I mean, these are the people, that's just the perfect people to do that. That's fabulous.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you all so much for very lively conversations. We did post Eric and Nick's email into the chat, and I will share it with you both after the meeting as well. So if you have any other additional questions, please feel free to reach out to them.
Thank you. And I have business cards for anybody here who would like things as well.
Sure.
Thank you, Nick. I'm going to transition over to Erica so she can provide us with phase 2 updates.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Want to give an update on the project. There's been a lot going on. There are three big questions that are facing the program right now. We're working through the cost savings, which we've been coordinating with you all on and reporting out on. We need to find ways to cut the overall cost somewhere between $700 million to $1.2 billion of the cost of the $12.75 billion project. So we're working through that. Not just framing for our federal partners, but also to make sure that our budget is in balance moving forward. In addition, we're working to make sure that KST or another contractor is able to work with us on a price that is within our budget to build the large, long tunnel. We established a contracting task force back in the fall, which I'll give an update on later. And in addition, we need to find a path to finding the full funding grant agreement with VTA before we award the large stage 2 package for the tunnel and track work contract. We had a workshop in December with VTA and our project management oversight consultant, where they came on site here for a full day to walk through the different cost savings that we've come up with. We walked through all of the level 1 savings that we've talked through with you all. I'll show on the slide in a minute, and then they brought some of their own ideas as well. So we had a brainstorming session working through, looking at some of those ideas. So some of those ideas that they included are what we'll be evaluating in our level 3 analysis that I'll get more into talking about in just a minute. So based on strong suggestion from the board back in November, we pulled together a contracting task force that's made up of VTA's General Counsel Office, outside counsel, VTA's procurement department, oversight committee subject matter expert Gall Ziegler, as well as our program staff. Looking at tasked with answering that second question, do we have a path forward with KST, or do we need to further explore the off-ramp? And if we do that, do we need to have a strong plan in place to do so? As such, we have been doing a lot of industry outreach. We've gone to 2 major tunneling conferences in January, one in New York and one in Los Angeles. There's a lot of interest in the project. We have had some initial conversations with folks then and are having follow-up meetings this month to confirm the interest of those contractors and to make sure that they're willing to do it within a budget that works within a price that works within our budget. So we're moving forward with those and anticipate bringing preliminary recommendations to the board in March. This graphic you all have seen before. I think we showed it back in November. We wanted to show the progress that we've made since then. In December, we went to the board and the board approved moving forward with the level 1 cost savings, which I'll walk through in a table in a minute. That are within the NEPA guardrails, so it just does not require any additional environmental clearance. That was confirmed at the workshop that we had in December. In addition, the West Portal launch structure construction was awarded at the December board and getting ready to gear up, which will mean that large shaft next where the tunnel will start from will start to be constructed that will also kick off extended work hours and weekend work and such. The area in dashed green at the bottom is our VTA milestones. Our federal lobbyists came and gave an update at the VTA board meeting on last Thursday. And so based on their guidance, they're closely tied into what's happening in Washington. We're evaluating the time frame for this submittal of our FFGA full funding grant agreement documents. And so that section may shift over to the right, and we're working through that, evaluating that now. Any questions on that before I get into the cost savings?
I mean, we haven't hired a consultant or a subcontractor that hasn't gone over budget. I mean, it just happens. I mean, you were saying how these several tunneling companies see if they can work within our budget. What kind of contingencies do we have that, because they always lowball, and then 3/4 of the way through, it's shoot, we can't make it without more money. I mean, and of course they're 3/4 of the way through. What are you going to do? I mean,
right. There is contingency built into our budget,
Okay.
and risks that are also contemplated as costs within our budget to account for that.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right.
Diving into the cost savings, you all have seen this table before. The top 4 items are the level 1 items that we've discussed with you previously. Changes to criteria requirements, refinements to the stations that don't affect the passenger experience, that's what we've had a lot of engagement on and discussion on. Converting the parking garage at the 28th Street station into surface parking, and to using owner provided materials. So that cost savings, we have advanced enough to have rough order of magnitude cost estimates. And so there were some areas that we needed further study on, which are now considered level 2. And so we have pulled together task forces for each of those groups. And then I'm going to walk through the status of those 5 groups on the next coming slides. So as I walk through them, similar to level 1, there's a criteria evaluation here. What the cost savings is, if it will require additional federal or state environmental analysis, would there be a change to the forecasted ridership? Would additional right-of-way be needed? Is there coordination and engagement with BART and other third parties needed? And is there a fact and need to coordinate very closely with the community? So the first we're going to talk about is Task Force A, which is concurrent tunneling from the east. So this task force focused on a smaller single bore tunnel based on space proofing. It was determined that a 45-foot diameter smaller tunnel boring machine could be launched from the east portal. We would still have the 53-foot diameter tunnel boring machine that was launched from the west portal. And it's evaluating whether they meet up at 13th Street or somewhere around that location. Through this study. There's with this change to a smaller tunnel boring machine, and we were able to make the depth of the alignment at the stations a little bit shallower. And with the smaller tunnel, then it requires this station to be of a cut and cover construction, and the platforms to be on the sides of 28th Street. So there would be no changes to the passenger experience at the surface level, but below ground, instead of having a center boarding platform, there would be side boarding platforms. There would be some increased truck traffic that we know would occur due to this, as well as some additional environmentally cleared right-of-way that we didn't think was needed would need to be acquired. So in this task force, we're coordinating with Carl Ziedler, our subject matter expert, and evaluating whether this is something that could move forward. Right now, we're looking at the cost savings and the schedule savings by doing the concurrent tunneling. So a decision has not yet been made, but wanted to show here on this next slide, you can see a little bit better. The 28th Street station is on the right side of the screen, and the North Vent facility that's at the corner of 30th and East St. James, so closer towards the Berryessa station, is on the left side of the screen. So if we do the large single bore tunnel the whole way, then you can see the tunnel goes underneath and we just excavate down at the shafts. But if we use this smaller single bore tunnel, then we have to cut and cover the entire section in between. So there'll be more report out on whether this gets advanced or not, but we do not have a final decision made here yet.
That's just because, I mean, tunneling is incredibly expensive. I mean, that's where the savings comes. As
Well, if
opposed
we-
to cut and cover.
Well, if we, about whether there'd be a cost.
Well, I'm sorry, I thought this was a cost cutting measure.
It is, right? So looking if you have 2 tunnel boring machines, you know, initially there would be some upfront cost by having to buy a second tunnel boring machine, but depending on what the schedule savings would be, schedule savings is time savings, which also converts to cost savings. So that's what's being evaluated.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, sure.
All right, and then the next task force B, is looking at the yard and the Santa Clara station. We talked about this as early as in level 1, but it didn't quite had further refinements to do. So this moved into level 2. We moved coordinating closely with BART and landed on this layout here, which provides some more efficient vehicle storage and maximizes the efficiency of the maintenance areas and such. We're looking at evaluating the trade-offs between the capital costs and operations and maintenance costs. So this layout we came up with BART provides around $40 million in savings, but still includes the parking garage at the north end there. And so we wanted to continue looking with BART and address some of their comments and see if we could find additional savings. As you can see here, this is option E. So we've gone through several iterations already. We then looked at option F, where we were able to remove the parking garage and include surface parking. And so that is something that we worked through with BART, and as you can see, that provides much more cost savings, over 100 million in cost savings. Still, there were some comments, and so we're now on to option H. That's shown as draft, as it's very hot off the press, keeping y'all updated. We haven't worked through this entirely with BART yet, but is in progress, and that's why the cost savings is TBD as well. So as we learn more, we will report back. And then for all of these options, we're looking at potential phasing opportunities in conversations with BART related to that. Knowing that the most public facing piece of all of this is the parking garage, wanted to show a zoom in here of the parking garage layout on the top that we currently have, and then a potential draft layout of surface parking on the bottom that if we move forward with these options, we'll have more engagement on moving forward. Just wanted to give you a better glimpse of that on the screen.
I see. So you're just leaving the space, you're paving it for parking, and with the idea that sometime in the future, after operations get going, you will then, as money comes available, change it into a more quote-unquote full-blown maintenance yard.
Well, this area, so this effort is to space proof, to see what can fit in there. And so that, you know, initially the phasing we were talking about was potentially just some sort of storage tracks or very minimal things initially, and then get to this full build out that we're showing on the screen. So the area for parking would remain. But if we have parking that's not over a garage, then there's potential there could be some sort of development over there.
Sorry, I thought the surface parking went farther to the south, I guess.
Okay, yeah, here on the.
I was wrong, sorry.
Yeah. Jonathan, I see you have your hand up. Do you have a question about this?
Yeah, are there any additional details, or were there any other changes or refinements to the station itself, or is this just reconfiguring the yard part?
Just reconfiguring the yard part and the station infrastructure facilities. If you look on this one, you can see a little bit. So there's no changes to the station. If the parking garage goes away, then the station infrastructure facilities that were fronting Champions Way on the ground floor will be transitioned into, you can see kind of a rectangular box we've got shown there for those facilities moving forward. So we'll have a lot more engagement and discussion if this moves forward, but this wanted to keep you updated on what's being explored, but no changes to the station or the platform.
So do we have any updates or pictures of like what the station itself looks like at this point? Like I know there was all the refinements are being looked at. Is this all the way back to the last thing that came out of the DRC, or will we be seeing an update on what this all looks like at some point?
Yeah, so the station has not changed at all from the last images that you saw.
Well, Which set, I guess I know there were some refinements. I don't know if anything got solidified. I know there was the DRC and then there was like some shrinking of things. And I guess I'm not clear like what is the leading candidate at this point. So it might be help to get some clarity about that.
Okay, yes. So we had the design review committee meetings, and then we reduced the size of the station entrance building slightly and made some modifications and brought that back to the group here and showed that to you all and discussed with you. And that's the latest that we have. The stations have kind of gone on hold since that point, and we've been exploring these other things, these different task force areas. So the only thing that's been modified as it relates to the station thus far is the parking lot there in that back of house building, but this is very high level concept at this point. So we would have future additional engagement, but not anticipating it in the imminent future.
Okay, so the last status was that reduced station is currently the current
station
status.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it might be helpful especially if we could share to the wider community kind of where everything is, because I don't know if those were ready for future draft, but I think it'd be helpful to just, if we could have like the latest version somewhere that we could go look at. I don't think I could find it last time I was looking at the CWG website. Like there's a
Yes.
bot to pull that stuff up. Yeah.
Good feedback. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, Task Force C is looking at the interior of the tunnel, looking at the bottom, having structural fill on the bottom with the emergency ventilation in an overhead plenum on the top above. So this is being evaluated. It's technically feasible. We're working through comments and questions with BART and reviewing the schedule to see if we'll come up with a savings. So we'll have more information on cost savings in the future. This is the current status of this task force. Task Force D is looking at various alternative structural concepts, changing optimizing the supportive excavation rebar within temporary and permanent walls, and different structural elements. And this resulted in a savings of a little less than 5 million. And so this was something that we had started in level 1, but weren't able to wrap up entirely. And so now we've been able to advance that further. And then the last task force E, is for the muck off haul. And so this includes hauling to local disposal sites to reduce trucking costs. And so with this change, we're able to save a little under $10 million. And so this is just based on, in our original estimate, we assumed that we would have to truck to places that were near and far for disposal. And based on more research we've done, we've been able to determine there's enough close local places that we don't have to have those farther, longer trips. So I know we've also talked recently about the salt ponds project and various other options, and those will be studied as part of the next level. And so this report out here is just on the disposal sites. And that's all that I have for cost savings. Any other questions before I turn it over to Brent?
Let's go with folks in person. John? Additional thoughts, questions? Sean?
No, I was a little confused, but it was related to Jonathan's question about whether we were talking about no changes to the station. Did that mean no changes post the last meeting where we talked about there was going to be, the station itself was going to be refined a little bit, but you clarified that. So.
All right, any folks online that have questions, comments? Okay. Oh, Jonathan.
Yeah, I had a kind of maybe a general question and maybe can't be answered, but I know that there's been a lot of funding changes recently. And have we been affected as far as like timelines on, given like a lot of funding has been put on hold right now from the federal government, or we're not affected by that?
Yeah, so VTA's lobbyists came to the board last Thursday night and gave an update on kind of the status in DC. So the Capital Investment Grant Program is an established program, but based on their guidance, we're looking at the time frame of when to submit. And so we're taking their advice seriously and evaluating that. And so that's why on the schedule that the box, the FTA box had the dashed line around it, as we're evaluating what's the best time to move that forward.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Brent, over to you.
Everyone. I've been giving this update to our 2 CWGs this week, but I think it's most relevant for you all. So I'm excited for you all to see some of the progress. We're going to narrow down and talk about some of the works that's been happening out at the New Hall Yard as part of some of our early work packages, and then give you a drone flyover update as well. So just to kind of reorient everyone, you've seen this slide a couple of times, but our contractor has been doing some of the early works out there, mainly utilities, fencing, some drainage and site preparation. And then these colored squares, the purple and the pink are brown, are things that will come later. These are things that will support the tunnel, either the tunnel factory or the place where we'll store muck or the concrete factory. And so I'll kind of call out some of those locations when we do the drone flyover. What's most important is what's upcoming, and that's the item kind of there in the top left at the southern end of the yard. That is where we have just given our, what we call our notice to proceed to our contractor to start work on the launch structure for the tunnel boring machine. So this is a large excavation. It's a large pit where we'll put the boring machine into, and it includes a ramp. And it's about 2 years worth of work to build this structure. And it's going to be kicking off in May. So with that come 2 other important things for communities around the station. And so before we go on, just wanted to cover, we'll be beginning some night work activities beginning in May, and also some shifts starting on Sundays as well. So I'll talk a little bit more later about how we're going to be notifying and bringing you all up to speed, but just so you have a picture of kind of what's going on out here. This is where most of the activity is going to be starting up this spring. Okay, so progress we've been making to date. We want to move forward. We've got some drainage here on the right. This is a new drainage ditch that is along the east side of the property. So this is really upgrading really nothing that was out there to date when it was a railroad yard. So we've been putting in a lot of basic upgraded infrastructure to help us move stormwater, collect stormwater. We've been putting in utilities to help the contractor build out this site. And we've also been building some roads. On the left is a wheel wash. It's not an exploding pipe, as our construction director likes to say when she talks about this. But our wheel washes are important for meeting our environmental commitments for our trucks that are running on our roads. The contractor has been doing a great job to date using water trucks, washing the streets, sweeping the streets, and keeping them clean. But this will be added to that portfolio to help keep our streets clean. I'm really excited about this road, as I've been telling all these other groups. It's pretty impressive to have infrastructure like we'll have on this site to move equipment in and out. So the contractors built kind of a network of roads to get from one end to the site to the other. There's an entrance on Brokaw and an entrance off New Hall behind Pave Hall Park. And so they've been constructing that facility to help bring in equipment, move their workers and staff, and just have a really good functioning, clean work site. And so having a road also really cuts down on dust and just helps us move equipment in and out there. You can see on the right here, they're installing an air line here. We use air on the site for tools to help maintain the equipment and things like that. So again, they're building out some of that infrastructure that will be present over the coming decade as we build the project. All right, so we're gonna do a flyover here, but before we do, I just want to orient you. You're looking south right now. You can see the downtown San Jose skyline there in the distance. On the left, we have Coleman High Line, and on the right, we have Caltrain and the Santa Clara Historic Depot. So we're right above Brokaw right now, and we're looking south down one of the new roads that's been constructed. So So let's hit play. So you can see new drainage there on the right and on the left, right next to the road. This is where we have one pod of offices for our contractor. They're going to be bringing in some additional trailers for staff as the contractor ramps up for the launch structure construction. Kind of in the middle of the site here on the right is where some of those facilities are going to be eventually constructed for the tunnel lining factory, processing the concrete, and storing the muck as it comes out of the TBM shaft. So here's that new drainage ditch that we were sharing with you. We've been monitoring this very closely. It's been working well with the recent stormwater events that we've been having on site. Also been working on some fencing with our partners, getting that fencing up. And you can see here some of our filter tanks here. So this helps filter sediment off the site or that's discharged. And this is the entrance that has been upgraded as well. So this is our entrance to Newhall Yard. We've been doing some utility connections here with the city as well, water, drainage, and there'll be some PG&E work further on south on the site as well. So progress being made, and we hope to have one of these kind of flyovers every quarter for you all. And then in the coming weeks, our contractor's also going to be working to install some time-lapse cameras that will be focused on the launch structure itself. So that'll be a really fun way to start to see, you know, rapid progress, and we'll do some video for you all in the future on that as well. So I talked a little bit about this mobilization. Some of the early work for the TBM shaft will begin in March, but we expect the night work to begin in May. So in terms of notifying all of you as partners and neighbors, our team right now is kind of putting together a communications plan. We are going to be doing a mailer to the surrounding community. So, you know, residents and neighbors will probably be receiving something a couple of weeks before the night work begins, letting them know, giving them a heads up of what to expect, who to call if they have any questions. Those questions will come to team members in the room here, so you know us as well, so you all can always reach out to us directly, of course. You have Ollie in the room, who is our new station lead, and then we'll have other folks available to answer questions as well. We're also going to be working on a noise curtain for the residents on the west side. So those are our three HOA communities, excuse me, two HOA communities, and one is the university community. So there'll be a temporary noise curtain that will be installed along the structure, between the structure and the railroad tracks. And that will help with some of the noise as well.
Hey, Brent, is that,
Yep.
Can I see where that is on this? You can't see what's posted. Is that reflected on this diagram in the room?
If you could go back to the overview. Or Erica could call it out on the map there.
Erica's showing us here.
Yeah, the 3C TBM launch structure here. So the noise curtain is kind of along the side of this between the traction and the structure.
Okay.
So the way noise curtains work is they do some absorption of the noise, but their primary function is really to kind of left the noise upwards and over the sensitive receptor.
Okay.
Just so everyone is aware.
Is the night work anticipated to be at the same kind of noise level as the daytime work, or is it scaled back?
Yeah, so contractors just now planning out kind of 3 months in advance. I think as we get more information, we'll be letting folks kind of know what type of activities those are.
There are different thresholds for daytime and nighttime work, so
Definitely.
those will be maintained, but we'll have more details.
We have I mean, like the earthquakes right now, they have a quote unquote hotline. So when
Yes, we already have one set up.
you have a hotline set up for residents. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we have a project hotline, project email, be using those.
And can you define quote unquote night shift? I mean, you know, a lot of people work 8 hours. They work from 9 to 5, so to speak. And there's swing shift and then there's graveyard. And what can you define night is graveyard as well as swing?
So work will be
Rush hour, what?
6 a.m. to 4 a.m.
6 a.m.
to 4 a.m. So almost 24 hours a day.
6 yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
6 a.m. to
4 a.m.
so it's 22 hours a day.
Correct.
Yeah, different trades work different shifts, right? So some work 8, some work 10s, some work 12s. It depends on the crews out there.
John, I'm not sure if you were at the, we had a public meeting when we were talking about the activities a couple of years ago related to this, but as there's deep supportive excavation walls that have to be built, there's like critical concrete pours that have to happen, which is what necessitates the 22 hours a day of work.
Well, that's
in order
fine.
to get them filled during that time.
Yeah.
So
All
that
right.
extended work hours will happen during those critical times, which is anticipated for about 15 months, I think.
How much?
15 months.
15 months.
Yeah, so some of these pours are very deep, so it's a lot of concrete that goes into the bottom of the structure. And they could be, you know, pumping concrete for hours and hours and hours at a time.
Okay.
All right.
Just want to briefly jump to folks online who might have questions or thoughts on this
Yes,
section.
thank you.
All right. Let's see.
I have a question on page 37. There's on the right image, there's an annotation on the lower left-hand side. It says Altura Commons. I mean, what is the reference to that? That's in my neighborhood.
Very observant. I think that's just a geotag from our inspector's camera. Probably picked up, you know, the project name there and its location. You can see the coordinates there, but this is not taken from the private property, or it's probably on the same longitude as the Altura Commons are on as the picture was taken on the site.
Okay.
Any other questions, Sean? All right, let's move on to Thriving Business Program updates. Okay,
this is our last agenda item for you. We're here tonight to update you all on our Thriving Business Program. This is our, it's been a while since we've brought this program to the CWGs. It was previously called our Business Resource Program. And we've had a couple of meetings over the last year with our Small Business Task Force. And some of the feedback had to do with the name and making it more active and more representative of what the program will do for businesses during construction. So we've changed the name now to Thriving Business Program as a program that represents kind of supporting businesses and helping them become more resilient during construction. Some additional just quick history. This program's been developed over a couple years now. We've done a lot of industry research, talked to other agencies that have implemented business programs. It's also built on just lessons learned from our own agency, either from BART Phase 1, from building bus rapid transit in the downtown core, even thinking about other projects like going back as far as, you know, light rail construction or other things we've done in urbanized areas of the agency. So really put together what we think is a really supportive and positive program for our businesses moving forward. Our board in June of 24, which was the last time they heard about this program, approved a budget of about $15 million, not about, they approved $15 million for, we anticipate about $3 million a year on average being spent on the program. And $2.5 million of that will go to grant assistance for businesses, and the rest will go towards marketing in our local resource network, which I'll talk about on the next slide. Sorry, the slide after this. Hold that thought. Since it's been a while, we just wanted to bring back what the goals of the program for you all. It's really to, again, like I said, help our businesses become more resilient. This program isn't meant to be a be-all for businesses during construction, but it's meant to really help supplement some income with our grant program, and then provide some wraparound resources, either marketing assistance, technical assistance that they may need. And we're going to be doing some surveys of businesses to figure out what those might be during construction. And we really want to just support, especially those brick and mortar businesses who are near the construction areas that really rely on that walk-in traffic. We want to be letting the community know that we support them, that they're open, that they're active, and that they're still thriving during construction. All right, next slide. So it has 3 components, and we have some branding here that our Small Business Task Force has provided some feedback on and helped us out with. The first is our Eat Shop Local marketing campaign. It includes signage and wayfinding and marketing. This will be VTA really working with businesses to help promote them, put them on our transit ads, put them on our social media, produce signage for them, wayfinding to let folks know what their hours are, how they're operating, where they're operating, and then generally supporting them at maybe pop-up events and being able to share business lists with the broader community. Our local resource network are those wraparound services, and we intend to deliver these by also partnering with community-based organizations. It could include financial or technical assistance, creating networking mixers, or other educational resources that they may need. Maybe it's permitting assistance, legal assistance, access to capital, things like that. And then our direct financial assistance, this will be provided for businesses that are affected by major construction. We do have some thresholds of what those things are. Examples may be like a sidewalk closure or temporary parking removal in front of your business. To be eligible for the direct financial assistance, you have to be a small business, which is defined as 35 or fewer full-time employees. You'll have to have a business license with Santa Clara or San Jose and an active storefront. And there are 2 thresholds here. One is about $500 grant. That is really a low barrier for businesses that are within about 500 feet of the corridor. And then there's a higher level payment, which is about $10,000 per business on an annual year. So that would be $10,000 up per business up to 5 years. And to receive that amount, it's still a pretty low threshold. We are working on the application now, but this is not meant to be an onerous process where a business would have to open up their books or prove something to us. But there will be some qualifiers, like our team will be working with the business to determine like what level of construction affected them, what are some of those major elements, and then they'll be able to submit an application for some grant assistance. So some feedback from our working groups that we've been asking about, and we sent these materials in advance to you all. We're collecting some feedback on 2 surveys. One is for community-based organizations who may be able to provide some of the services we envision in our local resource network. So we're asking questions about what capacity community-based organizations have, what technical capabilities, what kind of staffing do they have experience doing networking events, and really just trying to see interest and capabilities of organizations that could support us in delivering some of those services to businesses. Second survey is targeting small businesses themselves, asking things like, what do you need during construction? How does your business operate? And collecting, some basic information on logistics. It would be great for business owners who are on the working group or just, using all of your expertise. We're asking for your help to review these surveys in the next 2 to 3 weeks to give us some feedback, making sure we have all the right questions in here. The next step is one of the first parts of launching the program is getting these surveys out to businesses and to CBOs into their hands and getting the feedback that we need from them so that we can build out the local resource network Some other community-based organizations have on the east side of the project or downtown have offered to help us in canvassing or get these into businesses' hands. And we intend to do some outreach too through our own channels and means, but also working with our cities through their distribution or any local elected newsletters or offices. Could also put things in neighborhood association newsletters or really any other ideas that you all have. We'd love to hear from you. So the second thing that we have sent you as well. Oh, there we go. Are two other guides. One is a program guide for the Thriving Business Program. And this kind of explains all the nuts and bolts of the program that I just went over, how you would access the program, where do you go to get information about the program, and what the program is really about and how it will serve you. And then the second item is a construction readiness guide. So this is meant to be a tool that works alongside the Thriving Business Program. It's not just for small businesses. This is really could be a tool for anyone in the public or who is a stakeholder or has general interest about construction and really walks people through the process. So what will you expect early on in the process? What are some things that you can maybe expect during some of the more major construction? How can you prepare your business? What can you do? Who do you call? And then after construction. I know that seems like a long time away, but we wanted to inform people of some things that you could do as a business after construction as well. So in terms of priority, I think we'd really love feedback on the surveys if you have limited time first, and then on the guides second. Our intention after we get feedback is to kind of have a pencils down moment and get these translated into multiple languages and out into the hands of our small businesses and community-based organizations. Tiffany is our lead on this from our team, and so if you all have feedback, please feel free to email her directly. If you did need an extra week beyond the 24th, we've already gotten some feedback, but maybe a third week would be helpful. We can take an extra week of comments as well. So any questions on the Thriving Business Program from anyone?
I'll start with folks in person. Sean? John? Folks online? Anna?
Yes, thanks for clarifying that it's 500 feet from the corridor, so that sort of narrows it down to specific businesses. My question is, have you already identified directly who those businesses are in that area, and will you be contacting them directly to let them know you're there for them, or is the process going to be they'll seek you out for more information? I'm just curious how that's going to go.
Yeah, great question. So some of the feedback we actually got from our board was to have a little bit of flexibility in what that kind of 500-foot barrier is. So you'll see we do have a map in the program guide. It's meant to be kind of a visual tool to show where an approximate location of a business that, could receive marketing or local resource network assistance. That area is much broader than the businesses that we anticipate receiving direct financial assistance. So those services are kind of going to be a little bit broader and offered to really businesses along the whole corridor. I think the second part of your question, Anna, is it's going to be a combination of both, right? We're going to do the best job we can to get the information out there and broadcast it. We're also going to have a team or a staff working specifically on this program. And it's going to be their job to kind of directly engage with businesses along the corridor in partnership with our community-based organizations once we hire them to make sure that all of our businesses in our defined zone know about the program and that it's an opportunity for them.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Any more questions from folks online? We'll move on. All right. So some next steps. We have meetings planned ahead. You'll see here that the dates anticipated for our next CWG meetings are May 15th, September 11th, and November 13th. November 13th is highlighted because it does fall on a holiday, so we may or may not schedule that, but we'll keep you posted. We anticipate providing you with continued updates for phase 2, construction, and community engagement as the program progresses. As we get closer to these meeting dates, if there are additional content that you would like us to capture in these agenda items, we can definitely take your suggestions. We can definitely email you. Any questions? All right. And then these will be the dates for our upcoming oversight committee meetings, as well as the board of directors workshop and board of directors meeting. The meeting on February 28th is particularly important because that will be the orientation of the new board members. So if you'd like to meet them, get to know them, it will be a time to tune in. And if you'd like to check out these meetings at a later time, you are always able to visit the VTA.org website to get the events calendar. My colleague Tiffany will be pasting that link right into the chat for you to easily access. Any questions, comments before we end the night? Folks online? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining.